Tyndale behind Details Matter, and you've transitioned from an elite playing career at York University, and you've became the lab scientist, of course, and you've worked with some of the NBA's toughest players. Yeah. So how do you transition from playing at a great level to training at the same level and better?
Yeah, honestly, it's just love for the game, really. I mean, you know, everyone has a love when they're playing the game, and then that transition, you can go, you know, hating basketball because you're almost losing a part of yourself.
Yeah.
But for me, I tried to keep my love for the game strong. You know, that was what started everything. You know, the game teaches you a lot of things: discipline, your focus, your organization, just overall regimen. And for me, it was like, if I can pay it forward and instill that in more people that can take it further than I can, to me, that's everything. Yeah. It keeps me connected, and like I said, it started with love and try to keep it that way.
Yes, and that love, it transitions into helping other people continue that love, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. Yes, that's what's good.
Yeah.
To keep that love, and you see other people have that love, and it gains your passion more, because you're like, I helped that, I did that.
Living vicariously through them.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. Yes, I love that. That's my goal one day.
For sure.
Okay, and then you talk a lot about accountable work. How do you prepare a player's body to be just as strong and disciplined when you're in the 48th minute to when you were in the first minute? Like, how do you do that?
I mean, the way you program, off-season training, I think there's specific times where, you're working different systems and energy systems. You're challenging your conditioning at a different level with the type of drills you do. Obviously, the lifting, the conditioning, strength conditioning has to also supplement that and kind of work in unison, but mainly on the court, it's different drills that challenge the mind. Maybe there's a goal in mind. We're trying to make a certain amount of shots in a certain amount of time, and you're running the entire time. And there's consequences when you don't get the score. Those type of things, they piss people off. They get them a little angry and worked up. But to remain calm and stay focused in those times where you're simulating a challenge that you may face in a game, it just prepares you. And as much as you could do that and people conquer those challenges, the games become easy. Because training is supposed to be harder than the game.
Exactly. And then once you get to the game, it's a lot easier because you've been doing that training.
Preparation.
Yes.
Yep.
And right now there's a lot of flashy training on social media and everything else. But you really focus on the biochemics of the game and the small details. So why are these boring, as people would say, right? Boring details actually important?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, on social media, a lot of it is about clicks. And, sometimes people will put out things that look the part, but it's not really, replicating the true essence of the game.
Right.
And the as we said, the smaller details in the game that are going to allow our player to be successful. For me, studying film and studying, the best of the best at their craft is my obsession, and it's allowed me to, be able to give people a really good look when they're in the gym, so everything has to translate. It's like, if I'm going to give you something, I want you to feel like you can go out there the next day and put that in motion, and, it'll allow you to be successful. So, those boring things, again, people always say like the old school approach is better. It may be true because, that boring approach and those fundamentals being put in the forefront, allows people to really have a good foundation. And it starts with that foundation to really be a good player.
Yes, well said, well said. And I think that'll be interesting for a lot of people to hear.
Yeah,
so maybe it'll go through their minds a little bit.
Change some things.
Yes, and then with your background in kinesiology, what's one movement flaw that you see in 90% of players that you're constantly trying to improve and work on with them? Or change, or correct, if you will.
For me, I'd probably say, players loading their hips.
Oh, okay.
So playing in that loaded, ready position, it can affect many things. Your shooting, your preparation for a shot. If you're standing straight up, you're not shot ready. Being able to drive off a closeout. Being strong and holding your defender off if you're in a hostage dribble, or there's just overall defensive positioning. Being able to load and be ready to either push off or jump or react. I think a lot of players play real straight up, and that's why we see a lot of ankle or hip injuries because they're not really using the right muscles and they're overcompensating in other areas. So, those are things that constantly I think have to be improved in players. Routine's key. Having, the mini band and doing your glute activation. A lot of people see the players on the court, doing their warm ups and they're just like, oh, what are they doing? But the reality is they're getting their hips ready to play. You see them running with the band on them and applying resistance and all those things. Those things are so valuable because, our glutes are a big muscle. So it's going to allow you to absorb, push off, jump, sprint, cut, run faster, jump higher, like whatever you name it. Anything athletic, is going to start there. So more of that.
Yes, more of it. I love it. Hopefully they'll do it. Yeah. Other people besides you, because you're like the top.
I'm on it. I'm trying.
Yes, you're there. I believe you are. Okay, and then you describe your training as organic, and most trainers, they run rigid scripts, right? They do. And then, but you seem to react to a player's energy in real time. And how do you balance having a plan while still letting players find their own flow?
It's a little bit of, a relationship build. I think when you're able to connect with someone, you build a better understanding.
Yeah.
You've got to know that every day is going to be different, and checking in on how their body may feel, the type of sleep they had, how much they've eaten on that day, what they've got coming up in the evening, or depending on the time of the day, how was your morning? Just context. You have to take that into account, and I think once you do that, you can fit the needs of what you're trying to accomplish within that workout. Of course, having a plan is key. But like I said, when you're working with players, especially at a high level, they have a good enough self-awareness of, what these sessions, especially in the season, will look like.
Yeah.
The shots that you're getting to are very specific. The things are very specific. So it's almost known what it's going to look like. So for me, I just like to take into account context and, regardless, always be prepared with, what is my skeleton? What is the framework I'm working within? And, what am I trying to accomplish here? So.
Yes. Would you say if a player has a bad game, do you think it's because they didn't sleep well enough and they didn't eat well enough? Is that, would you say that's also a big part?
No, bad games happen. I think, we're imperfect beings, and, sometimes the basketball gods don't want the ball to go in the net.
Yeah.
We can just control the controllables as much as we can. Mind over matter truly, because, there's going to be times where the conditions aren't best. You're playing it back to back, you're on the road, you're traveling, a flight got delayed. You're in a position where being a professional, you have to still be able to perform.
Yeah.
And, if you want to be a professional, you have to be able to still perform. If you're going through, shoot, I got exams, you're a collegiate athlete, I don't know if kids still do schoolwork, but, I got exams and I've got a game and I've got to still take care of business. You still got to show up. And that, I think, is what separates elite athletes. So, you can blame those things sometimes, but, some of the best are able to block that out and morph into what they need to morph into to get the job done.
Yeah. And to follow up, we still do have schoolwork.
Okay.
Yeah, we still do schoolwork.
Good.
Maybe me less than other people, but I did.
Good.
I mean, I always did my work, but
A plus,
yes,
better.
Exactly. Good grades or none at all.
Exactly.
Okay, and then when someone walks into a details matter session, the energy obviously feels different because you're organic and different than other people.
Yeah.
So what kind of environment do you like to initially create for people to come into?
It's a family environment ultimately. Be comfortable, be you, but know that I'm gonna really push you. So it's a tough love. I want the best for you ultimately, and I want you to leave feeling better than you were when you walked through the doors and when you got on the floor. I want you to feel more confident. It's just like I'm your biggest cheerleader, but your toughest critic. And, I'll build you up, break you down, build you up, break you down. But the ultimate goal is to just level up. And I think that's felt right away, just by tone of voice, just by overall energy, just, right away, I try to give energy. And, if I see it's reciprocated, then I know, we're going to build well, because that's you connecting. So I ultimately just try to connect with people and be real. And then from there, just challenge them. But, have fun challenging each other at the same time.
Yes. I love that because tone of voice really goes a long way.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if someone's yelling at you, you obviously like you don't want to do anything, but like if you understand why they're yelling,
Yeah, for sure.
Easier, like tough love, like you said.
Yeah, and just to add to that, actually, you know, I pride myself really on being prepared. So, you know, if I'm working with a player, whether it's my first time or, you know, obviously maybe I've had a relationship with them, I've worked with them.
Right.
I always find like being prepared is just so key. You know, you tell them things about their game that maybe they didn't even realize, and they're like, oh shoot, like, oh, this guy's really locked in. You know, so those type of things are important. You know, as I talk about film and I stress that, it's like when you can go to a person that you want to work with or wants to work with you, and you know, tell them what they need, and they realize, oh shoot, I do need that. You know, there's trust that's built there, and you know, that's something that's key for me.
Yes, perfect. All right. You know what? This question is coming. Everyone wants to know about Dillon the villain. I mean, he's on fire right now, and you've had a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts right now about him, like, literally blowing up right now?
Well, I mean, this what's happening, what everyone's seeing, you know, this has been Dillon. We've definitely worked and we've locked in, you know, at a great time, and a great opportunity was in front of him to, you know, show everybody what he's really capable of. You know, but again, when I say I've had a part of it for sure, but you know, he's bought into just really obsessing over the game, and you know, the off seasons, the past, I'd say 3 have been just a level up in terms of his commitment and, you know, just obsession with mastering every facet of his game. You know, just the other day, just having conversations already about what we want to work on in the summer, and you know, what I want for him and what he wants for himself to improve going into next season. You know, just having flashes of that already is just like telling me that you're really, really invested in this, and you know, you're trying to squeeze everything out. And, you know, I don't think he's even scratched the surface yet of where he really could be with this. And you know, I'm proud of him. You know, he recently just was named Western Conference Player of the Week, so big up to him. And you know, like I said, none of this to me seems crazy, because you know, I know that this is who he's been and what he's always had in him. It's just all things coming together at the right time, and you know, him being real focused and, as we say, loving this game.
Yes, exactly. All elements coming together at a good time too, because go Suns, right?
Go Suns! Shock the world. For sure.
Seriously.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay, and then Dillon, he has a sturdy and stocky build for a wing. Obviously, right?
Yeah.
And when you're in the lab and you are focusing on specific areas like the hip mobility, like we talked about earlier, ankle work, or core power, all of those, and you make his strength big, right? Because he's stocky. And he doesn't surface lateral quickness. So how do you work with that?
Well, I mean, his build, like, he's tough as nails, right? He's able to defend 1 to 5 ultimately on some rosters, and then, you know, obviously you see what he's doing offensively. For me, it's just understanding, you know, how to use your frame and your body. You know, his build is a strength. You know, as we see, he's turning his back, he's bumping guys, he's getting to these turnarounds and whatnot. And you know, to me, you know, it's just knowing yourself, because it's a needs analysis. Not every player is going to do the same movements and same moves. We just look at a player, like we say, and say, what are their strengths and how can we build on that? He's a shot maker. He likes to make tough shots, and that's something he's always done. So now when you add the frame to that, you know, as we talk about the bumps and, you know, playing with a loaded base, you know, the lower he is, the stronger he is. And when he hits you at that height and then able to separate and make those tough shots, it just makes the game easier. So now he's starting to become more surgical and know, you know, his spots and how to get to them. So I think just looking at the frame, looking at the build, and you know, looking at the natural skills is key. As we say, you know, you have to do a needs analysis when you're working with certain players. But you know, I think he's realized his role, you know, also has to change in different environments. And as that happens in different environments, you just kind of got to work within those areas, and you know, put him in positions to be successful when those opportunities arise. Because you know, this is where you're going to have to make money. This is, you know what I mean? So, you know, adding that post up was something, as I talked specifically about, a key element of his game to, you know, for longevity as well, you know? Yeah.
Perfect. And then this is kind of like a follow-up. It's a little different, but obviously the media sees the villain, right? And then you've worked with him hundreds of hours. So what's one thing that you specifically see that a lot of people don't?
Well, yeah, as we talk about those, the bumps and the footwork and the fadeaways, and we what people don't see is the amount of hours we spend watching film on those things
Yeah.
and studying those before him. Even current some that use these tools at a very, very high level. You're playing with the best of the best, and you want to be the best of the best. You have to study the best of the best. And as we talk about those little nuances, we're obsessed over those things. How they make contact, the angles that they bump at, the timing of different things. The overall balance of footwork as they create their space. It's just there's so much to it, and it's endless, honestly. So I think that's something people look at him as this tough guy and rough guy, but he's a professional. He's really obsessed with his craft. So he's a film junkie and a big time student of the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what? I think a lot of people would be really happy to hear that because I feel like some people, they don't watch film as much as they should.
It's considered the boring stuff.
Yeah.
And for those who love the Mamba and love Kobe, he kind of gave everyone those answers and told everybody like this is the way that you're supposed to approach it. And I love that a lot of players are adopting that mentality because it's a recipe for success.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a recipe for success.
It's like studying, like schoolwork.
It's a cheat sheet.
Yeah.
It's literally the cheat sheet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you focus on a lot of aggressive drives and plays. And for a powerful player, how do you train the body to stop on a dime without putting extra stress on the knees?
Okay, so that's good as we talk about like loading the hips.
Yes.
One thing ultimately, of course, you want to keep your build at a comfortable weight, comfortable size, optimal performance. Ultimately, I think that's key. But obviously, the type of exercise we do, the way we load, is also important. Your body has to be prepared, to do things that you're demanding on the floor. You're not going to ask somebody who can't hold a split stance to do a snatch step back three. I'm not going to expect that because if you can't even hold that for 3 seconds, you're probably not strong enough to do these movements. So I think, as we say, building that foundation fundamentally, I think building a foundation in terms of our body is super important. So, having conversations with the people that work specifically with his strength program. Obviously I do my activation piece with him where, we're focusing on loading, a lot of lunges, a lot of hamstring work, a lot of glute activation, a lot of core, a lot of just isometric holds.
Yes.
A lot of those things are important because, again, just building that endurance, building that strength and control.
Yes.
That's why I love the isometric side of it. It's all about control. So, again, you look at football athletes, for example, these are some of the best athletes in the world at ridiculous size. They're able to move at insane speeds and change directions, stop on a dime. It doesn't make any sense, but that's trained. That does not happen by accident. That's all by design. So, I think that's just a key thing, just making sure that every piece of the pyramid is functioning properly so that things can stand up tall and function as they should. So just can't skip steps. The foundation's got to be there.
Yes. Speaking of the working out, I don't think I could ever do that. It sounds like a lot. I need to get in the gym. Because oh my geez, that's like making me tired.
You don't work out?
Sometimes.
Sometimes?
Yeah, sometimes. I feel like I stopped for a little bit, but I'm getting back into it.
Health is everything,
exactly.
Right? It's key, and it's good for mood overall too. That has a lot of benefits,
Yes.
not just.
It's good for your mental.
Exactly.
Yes, that's what I need. Especially with my pain and everything.
Yeah.
Like I said.
Crucial.
Yes.
Crucial.
That's
sure.
helpful. Yes. Words of wisdom.
Absolutely.
And then Dillon, he plays with a lot of noise around him, and when he's back training with you, how much of the session is skill work versus mental maintenance to keep him locked into his process?
As I said before, there's a lot that we do where there's like different conditions, say the challenges where it's like a time drill or where he has to get a score, or there's different drills where there's like, there's conditions where you can't miss a certain amount of shots consecutively and you're going to a certain score, got to get it within a certain amount of time.
Right.
Just building pressure environments. But, I'm going to say this, shout out to one of the guys, Bubs, that's what he goes as.
Aww.
Bubs is a part of the crew. He's been looking out for DB forever. And he's like a big brother, just the guy, just takes care of things. And I'll say this, he has DB's number in terms of the mental game where he gets the chirping. DB will always talk back to him,
Oh my gosh.
you know, within the workouts, but it's love. And he's to have him stay focused during those times. And, you know, it's almost like he knows when to start to chime in and talk this talk. But that's where Dillon gets a lot of his grip from, you know, the upbringing and being in those hostile environments that we kind of create growing up, playing at the YMCA and those type of environments like that. That's everything. That's part of who he is. So, you know, he rises under pressure, and, you know, he's always played with a little bit of static. And, you know, again, that's where you have to have that persona and the villain who just goes out there and does what he does, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love that persona.
Yeah.
I think everyone does.
No, for sure.
So.
Finally.
Yes, fan favorite.
finally,
I know, right?
Finally, they know what he's really about.
Exactly. Now everyone loves him, because you would hate him if he was not on your team, but then you love him if he's on your team.
Absolutely.
But now everyone loves him.
Absolutely. Shout out DB.
Yes, seriously. And continue talking about him. What's a habit that you try to make your other players develop that he does? Like a skill that he mastered that you want other people to learn as well. That's very important.
To encompass it all, I'd say consistency. You know, whether, you know, you had 40 points, you had 10 points, you had 4 points, like the regimen stays the same.
Yeah.
You know, he's very good at what he does in terms of that. Like he's doing his stretching, he's doing his icing, he's doing his whatever modalities need to be done. He's getting his extra shots. You know, he's watching his film. It's just consistency. And, you know, I think a lot of people think, and they see a final result and they think that there was no process to get there. You know, everything has a process. And I think the fact that he just stays true to his process, no matter how things are going, is key. And that consistency is gonna allow for consistent performance.
Yes.
So I think that's big.
Yeah, you know what? I agree, because if you're not consistent, then, you know.
Random. You're a little random.
Yeah, you can't have that in the league or anything.
No, for sure.
And then we've kind of talked on this a little bit, but you've said you're not just a trainer, you're a big brother. And what's the line between being the guy who pushes them to exhaustion and then being the person that they can call when they need you?
Yeah, and as I said, like that trust being built, I think once you're able to connect with people on things non-basketball, just life, you know, I feel like I've lived a life. I have knowledge I feel like I could pass on to some of my guys and my people, and I obviously still have learning to do, and I learn from them as well. But I think that's just the trust thing. And you know, when you want the best for somebody, you're gonna tell them like it is, not like they want to hear. And I think that's something that, you know, they know I stand on, that accountable love. And you know, I just really want to see people maximize their potential and who they are, and not leave anything on the table, because you know, blink of an eye, you know, you're in year 13 in the NBA, 14, 15, wherever, or 10 year 10 pro overseas, or whatever it may be. The game's not forever.
Right.
So, you know, if I'm supporting people that are playing it and, you know, trying to be a voice in their ear to help them with it, I think, you know, they respect it and honor it. And I think, you know, that's kind of what makes it work, you know, on and off the court.
Yeah, and I think people can notice that about you.
Yeah, for sure.
I do.
I appreciate it. I
I just met you right now.
Cool. No, that's a good thing.
Yes, it is. It's a good quality to have. And then, because you went through an injury yourself, how do you put prehab into your skills work?
I touched on it earlier a little bit about the activation piece. And, you know, I think that's super, super key. Just prepping your body for what the demand is. So, you know, some days is more mobility. You know, a lot of the guys, you know, they get in the gym and they just start right away. But as I said, having that self-check or just check in with the players, you know, how's your body feeling? You know, how's anything tight? You know, just making sure that they have an understanding in what they're feeling, just so that they can kind of take care of things themselves. If it means foam rolling for a couple minutes before they start, you know, things like that. That's key for habits. And then, you know, from there, as I said, the activation is non-negotiable. It's something that, you know, is super important, because, you know, when games come, you know, you're young, you're 16, 17, everyone's excited, you just get on the court, you start playing. And as you get older, you don't feel like that. And people think that they do, but they don't. You know, you hit a certain age and, you know, it's like an old car. It takes a little while to start. So you want that car to keep driving a little longer. You have to warm it up, turn it on, warm it up, let it sit for a little while. Once it's warm, then you start playing. So that same kind of approach for the older folks, kind of that analogy makes you understand it's a non-negotiable. We got to prep the body to work.
Yes. And then everyone wants to know what the shark mode diet looks like and what are the non-negotiables with that.
Shark mode diet. Well, for me, shark mode for me is nothing to do with food.
Good
Okay,
to
so
know.
in case people think it's diet and you're talking food, the way I'm interpreting shark mode, that diet is the film.
Yeah.
That diet is the type of shots we're taking every day. That diet is the approach to the type of shots we're taking, dominating every single rep that you take. To me, being in that mode that's just that preparation, knowing that you're your biggest fan and you're the nicest.
Yeah.
And, I've been commenting that, and I use that same language with Dillon all the time, like shark mode. And we'll watch clips of him in shark mode. And shark mode, what that looks like, we see his face, that look and that pep in his step. Even if you watch his warm up when he stands and does his thing, but then when he goes to the bench, he paces from one side to the next like a boxer.
Yes.
I don't know if you've noticed that, if anyone's noticed that.
I've seen it.
But it's very like he puts himself in that mode, and you love to see it. It's an intensity. It gets me hyped just because I understand that feeling of like, get yourself up for this moment, and to see him do it day in and day out and bring that type of energy, relentless. That's really the shark mode, and it comes with that whole regimen as we talked about, and the consistency in that, and you show up and you're a shark. Player of the week.
Yes, exactly. Shout out to him.
Shout out to him.
And then for players built like Dillon, you talk about playing in the gaps. So how do you teach stronger guards to build their pump to create space without getting a foul?
Well, those bumps and attacking gaps, that all those are going to be a result of good angles. So the way that you drive on the floor, you're either going wide or you're going more confrontational. And I think the more direct you are, the more physical you are, one, you're making the gap bigger for you to attack, because the space between one defender and the next is wider because you're closer to one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's key. And then, like I said, you're putting your defender in an uncomfortable position, and that's an understanding and a mindset of being able to play through contact. And it starts with drill work. There's a lot of activation drills that I try to do to make people understand, like, go right at somebody's hip and force them to be in an uncomfortable position, force them to open up their hips, so when you do bump them, because they're turning and running, they're actually going to be off balance. So for me, like I said, those small details and those small nuances are things that are initially built with just foundational drills, but then when you simulate gameplay, giving them a real look is important. So being able to place bodies on the floor where I'm actually guarding you in a way that a player would, and cutting off what I'm trying to cut off with someone in this gap. You got to manipulate your movements or setups to bring a defender this way to now make this gap bigger so I can go here, or just ultimately attacking at a sharper angle. It's all gap manipulation. I can go on and on about things like this, to be honest, but
I love it.
like we say, a lot of film work, a lot of conversations, a lot of training is not just shots. A lot of it is basketball conversations, looking at different spots on the floor, moving around, and kind of seeing things from certain angles. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. As a trainer, you're always critiquing others. So how do you make sure you're staying sharp?
I try to allocate time every day to just learn something new. When it comes to this game, watch a player that I probably wouldn't normally watch or think to watch. With what I'm doing, watching film in general, for certain players, I'm giving them a scout of different players that they're going to match up with. And in doing those things, you're watching so many people's habits and obviously learning, because, for example, for Dillon, I definitely give him film of people he's going to guard, and while I'm doing that and preparing him, I'm seeing how some of the best are approaching this game. And, there's always more. And I think just being able to challenge that bar for myself and, like I said, attain some form of knowledge and new information or a new way of doing something or a new way or approach of, organizing a drill or, simulating a game or just trying to make things as realistic as possible. Just, any way I can do that, that's beautiful. So for me, that's my method. It's just nonstop studying.
Yeah, and the game's always changing.
And the game is always changing. You got to grow with it.
Yes,
for sure.
Exactly. And you're also training your nephew, Javion, who's coming up. And how does training family change in your approach, or does it not at all?
It probably makes the approach a little tougher,
Yeah.
a little bit more
Okay.
accountable, especially when, you've been at it for so long. I've been training him for, first time he touched the basketball, really.
Yeah.
You would watch me play growing up, and we kind of built a bond in that way. But no, I'm very hard on him. But he knows that anything he needs, he's got me in his circle, and I'll always show up for him and make sure that he's taken care of. But like I said, seeing the greatness in certain people, even when maybe they don't see it at the level that you see it at. He's still young, he's still maturing, he's growing up, and realizing that he's going to be able to use this game in a certain way. He's not at that level yet in terms of maturity. He's still a kid and just having fun playing this game. But yeah, no, it's tough love. It's constantly making sure he's prepared and treating him the same as I would treat a pro like a Dillon. And then sometimes, because he's my family, and the discipline is different. So, no, it takes a village, and sometimes other voices are needed just because, at a certain point, it gets drowned out. But he knows I mean well, obviously, and I'm a part of his story and his foundation. So we're gonna keep getting better. We're gonna keep getting better.
Oh, that's so sweet.
For sure.
I love that. Okay, and then when it's all said and done, what do you want your athletes to remember most about training with you?
Whew.
It's kind of deep.
Yeah, it's kind of deep. But every time I've been asked this question, and I feel like my answer changes at times.
That's
I'd say there's a couple things.
Yeah.
I'm like, as I said, very prepared and really knows his stuff. Like, and I hear that compliment sometimes, and to me that's that nod of approval. That he's always prepared and he really knows what he's talking about. And I think that's something that's important, being able to communicate in a good way. And everyone has different learning styles, but another thing that I'd love to be known for also is being able to cater to all of them. So I'm always prepared and know my stuff, and able to cater to every learning style. So for me, that's everything. Whatever tools need to be used, I'll often bring film to sessions, even with 10-year-old kids. I have
that's good.
edits that are teaching them the skill set that they're going to practice. I'll give them the verbal cues. Some of them need to see it. Some of them need to get on the court and try it. Everybody's different. So being able to make it work and get everyone better. Some people turn people away because they feel like, oh, this is not a fit. I'll figure it out and it'll be a fit, and we'll get right if you let me. So that's something that I think is key. Today, at least.
Yeah.
This answer
it might
today.
change tomorrow.
It might change next week. Who knows? We'll
like
see how it
from
goes.
Now. Yeah, that's okay. You know what? It's okay to change your answers because you have so much going on.
Oh,
you gotta change it up.
Absolutely.
So I love that. And then this is more of a fun one. And what's your favorite gym? What's your favorite gym? No, what's your favorite gym you've trained in?
Oh.
I feel like there's so many.
Oh, wow.
Or you can just name top 5 or something. Or you can name them all.
No. I'm just going to be biased and say the mortgage matchup.
Yes, okay, good
I'm
one.
going to say that, because going in there, actually the night before the opener was my first time in there. And it was just 4 of us in there, empty, the full arena empty. So when you're on the floor, obviously I've been in some arenas that are empty, but it's not night before opening night.
Right.
I think that gives you a little bit different feel.
Yes, it's better feeling.
Yeah, it's a beautiful facility, and the energy in that gym when it's tip off is great too. So yeah, no, probably the mortgage matchup.
Yes.
Go Suns.
Yeah, go Suns. Good answer.
Good answer. For sure.
And then what's your favorite go-to workout music?
For me? Oh,
what do you like to put on?
What artists? Oh, there's a couple. I like. Love The Weeknd.
Yes, good one.
Travis Scott brings energy, so I'll put on some Travis.
Yes.
I like Tame Impala. I don't know if you guys know who Tame Impala is, but that's a little different. People look at me strange when I bump that Tame, but Tame's definitely probably my top 5 most played. And then, of course, Future, Lil Baby,
Love
those
that.
type of vibes.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of the times for the workouts, more times it's silent, but if it's the summertime and we're in the gym off season, music's blasting, I kind of will give the autonomy to the person I'm working out, wanting to know what they want to listen to. Everyone has their preference, and I'm open to every style of music, so my energy is always still going to be here. You know, probably wouldn't listen to classical music while I'm
What
working
about
out.
country?
Ooh, you know, some, some, I'm not gonna lie, some, but
Ooh,
you know, I don't got no country on
Yeah.
my playlist. I'm not gonna lie to you, but if somebody has it, I'm not gonna hate.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna hate.
That's funny.
Yeah.
You're like,
Ooh.
"Ugh." Classical, yeah, my teachers would play that and I'd fall asleep.
Yeah, no, for
I'd be
sure.
like,
For sure.
I'm gonna go to bed now. And then what's your preseason ritual to like get your players ready for season?
Set goals,
Oh, good one.
right? Set goals. Give for different challenges, things that you want to try to attain, you know, focus on, say, even just the strategy going into each game. You know, what is the mindset? You know, what is our theme for the season? You know, I think it varies, but I think setting goals is super important, you know, going into the season because, you know, it aligns your focus
Yeah.
day in and day out. Like, are my actions, you know, during this game or before this game aligned with what I'm trying to achieve this season or this month, if you're going to break it down to a smaller block or these next stretch of games. But yeah, goal setting is I think super important because you don't want to go into things aimless.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like once a year, like me and my mom and my sister will make like that vision board.
Yep.
I feel like that's
Yep.
kind of like
No, it's super
what I
key.
like. Yes.
Exactly.
And then I'll put like post-it notes on a mirror, and my mom will too, and we'll say them to ourselves every day.
Affirmations.
Yes.
Yeah, you manifest those things
Yes.
for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I love that. I relate.
Really key.
And then who's your basketball goat?
Oh, Michael Jordan.
Okay, thank goodness.
Without a doubt.
Yes,
That's
me
without a
too.
doubt.
Yes,
That's
me
without a
too.
doubt. Without
What
a
are your
doubt.
reasons? What do you mean without a doubt?
Oh man,
what would
like
you say?
again, as we say, like that's the archetype for everything that you see great on the floor right now. Just the footwork, you know, the angles, the precision, you know, the swagger,
Yes.
the creativity, the unpredictability. I think that's
Yeah.
one thing in basketball that wasn't there as much in the earlier days. Players were very predictable. They played at one speed. They didn't have much creative moves. I think that's what's changed in the game.
Yeah.
But I feel like Michael Jordan was sent from now playing back then.
Yes,
You understand?
yes.
Because he was doing a lot of stuff you see these guys doing just based off of instinct and trying to evade triple teams. Because you may not know, but the rules were different back then. So this is another addition to my argument. The rules being different with like defensive 3 seconds in the key, all those things, like it was harder for him to do what he was doing. You know what I mean? The 3-point shot wasn't as relevant. So the
Yeah.
defense was shrinking the floor.
Yes, very
So
physical.
to see him doing what he's doing at that, you know, with those rules was, to me, it just sets him apart. And he had to figure it out and he created basically the blueprint for everyone.
Yes,
Yeah.
and everyone will like argue with that, and I'm like,
I mean,
lay the facts right there.
I think those are strong facts.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
not arguing it.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm right.
I'm
know.
right. I want to hear it. Yeah, for sure.
And then, what's your favorite basketball era? Is it Michael Jordan era, like we were talking about, or is it now?
No, you know, my favorite era was like, I want to say like 2000, the 2000s, I'm going to say.
Okay.
Like 2000 to 2010.
Yes.
You know, when you had Iverson still in
Yes, he's
there,
my favorite.
Kobe, McGrady, like that era, Vince Carter, although, yeah, I think
Yeah.
that was a good era. That was real competitive. The game was still a little bit more physical, you know, they let him play through some stuff. So
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
it was just much more competitive.
Yes, no
not as much
flops.
super teams.
Yes.
I liked it a
Yes,
lot more.
Yes,
for
I
sure.
like that. You know what? Booker said that too about the 2000s, and I love Allen Iverson. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, I was born in 2006, so I
Yeah,
didn't really,
yeah.
you
Never
know,
watched
but
them.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But like highlights and everything, like,
Yeah.
I love highlights.
Yeah.
Like, I was just watching Allen Iverson highlights in the car when my mom's driving. Like,
Really?
yes, I love him.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
he's so,
yeah.
sorry.
He's got it all.
Yeah,
He's got it. He's got it.
Yes, I need to stop saying that, but you know. And then if you could trade any player in history, who would you pick?
Shoot, I'm not gonna say Iverson because you
Yeah.
just did it because I thought about that.
Can't copy me.
I can't copy you. Any player in history. Derrick Rose.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Derrick
Yeah,
Rose.
That's a good answer.
For sure.
Oh,
For
Makes
sure.
me sad.
Yeah,
That's
for
a good
sure.
answer.
For sure. That's number one. For sure. For sure.
He's got his jersey retired
Yeah,
too.
that's big. That's big. He deserved that.
He did.
Big time.
He did.
Yeah.
Is it easier or harder to train younger kids that have a lot of energy and just won't focus, or is it harder to train NBA players and pro players that have habits that they're already set in?
I think children are just more impressionable, and obviously they haven't had years and reps
Right.
and countless reps of like things that they think are good habits. As we said, they're kind of a blank canvas, regardless of the high energy level. I think that's just a discipline thing.
Yeah.
And for me, like with the young kids, I don't really change my approach in terms of toughness. I reprimand them. I yell a little bit.
Yeah.
I create a safe environment where they feel, this guy's my biggest fan. He might make me tear up a bit because he's yelling at me a little bit, but he's gonna come give me a hug right after and make sure you work hard because I want you to be the best.
Yeah.
So for me, as long as I'm able to connect with the kids in that way, and again, make them realize, if you want to get better at this, you're gonna have to be a little bit more disciplined.
Yeah.
It's maturity, and having high energy is actually a blessing, because at least I know when the game starts and they're young and they get high energy, they're gonna play hard and they're just gonna go.
Yeah.
It's just being able to channel it to the right things. So that's just part of their learning, and if you can connect with them, like I said, that's not hard for them to attain.
Yes. Yes, love that.
For sure.
And then what's harder to teach? Is it footwork or patience?
Patience on the court.
Yeah, wherever.
Footwork or patience in okay. Footwork or
Very
patience.
broad. Whatever you
That's
think.
a broad one.
Yeah, whatever you think.
I just have to pick one.
Or you can say both if you want.
From my experience, patience.
Yeah.
Footwork, I think footwork.
Yeah, because I feel like some
I got
people
my
don't have
methods
patience.
to my madness,
Yeah.
but patience is a tough one to, yeah.
Yeah, I can see why.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
it's a tough one.
I can see why.
For sure.
And then what's something people would be surprised to learn about you?
I can like really draw. Like
Really?
really draw. Like I'm very good at drawing. I love art, but it's not a habit that I've continued to do consistently. But like, if something means something to me, then I'll get out the sketch pad and do. I did a Kobe portrait, when he passed, of course. But things like that. Like it has to have some form of meaning for me. It's just a love that I had growing up, and a way of expressing myself. Takes away a lot of the tension and the stress you may have. It's you get into a little bit of a meditative state when you're kind of just pen and pad. You know what I mean? So I love art. I love drawing. Yeah.
If Dillon Brooks comes into a session late, does he have to run extra suicides, or is it any like repercussions for that?
I think a lot of the guys are afraid to be late.
Yeah, good.
For the sessions, just out of respect for how I operate with my timing and punctuality and all those things. So it's very rare that he's ever been late.
Yeah.
He might feel guilty and bring a smoothie as he comes in for me while he's late. But a majority of the time, like, we work hard. I might have a little bit more tension on me and be a little harder on him, but I know he's gonna come and show up and work. But like I said, I think the guys know, show up on time.
Yes.
Show up on time for sure.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
What smoothie do you like?
Me, I'm a strawberry, mango, banana.
Oh.
I need all three. I need the trifecta.
Really? I like strawberry and banana, but I haven't had mango before.
Yeah, add the mango in there. It's a little bit more sweetness. And if I'm really like, I might even add avocado to it too. Like real smooth. Yeah, real smooth.
Does that taste good?
Yeah, it works.
I mean, obviously it tastes
works,
good
and
to you.
it seems healthy.
Yeah.
It's doing something
Less
for me.
sugar.
Yeah. A lot of fructose though. We're good. We're good.
It's funny. Yeah. Perfect. I love to learn that about people. Like, what do you like?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you know what? Thank you so much for your time,
No
and
problem.
from developing NBA talent like Dillon Brooks and helping players master the details on and off the court. Your impact, it goes a long way beyond basketball.
Thank you.
So I'm very pleased and very grateful that you allowed me to interview you.
Thank
so I
you.
appreciate you
I
and really
appreciate it.
everything that you do. Like you're very talented.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
And I appreciate you having me here. It was
yes,
great. It
of
was great.
course.
Really good job.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Very good job.
Well, this is Bryanna with Bryanna.sports, and I'm with David Tyndale. So check him out.